Like seemingly everyone else, I was completely absorbed by the Kendrick-Drake feud as it was unfolding. Now with the Juneteenth concert and the release of the Not Like Us music video behind us, I feel like things have slowed down enough for me to talk about what is not only my favorite diss track coming out of this, but my favorite song of the year so far. I'm not going to talk any further about the rap beef this song came from. Normally with diss tracks, that context would be mandatory in order to understand the record, and while listeners who know the full context behind the track will certainly be able to appreciate it more than someone who doesn't, I think part of what makes Meet the Grams so special is that even removed from its broader cultural context, it still works as a complete story. So I'm not going to speak to the real-life accuracy of the song's allegations, or speculate on their potential impact on Drake's career. For the purposes of this video, Drake/Aubrey Graham and his family, as depicted by Kendrick Lamar in Meet the Grams, may as well be fictional characters. This channel is about storytelling, and the psychology that makes storytelling effective, so I'm going to look at this song as a standalone piece of art. What jumps out to me about Meet the Grams is how much it reminds me of one of my favorite films, The Shining. It is an intimate familial horror story centering around the main character's deterioration at the hands of corrupting influences, such as substance abuse and the past trauma it often stems from. The main character's failure to rise above these challenges and the subsequent toll his inner demons take on his family tragically renders his own trauma further generational, passing down the pain he inherited onto those he is supposed to love. Even the descending chords of the instrumental itself remind me of The Shining's Outlook Hotel, starting out as simply unsettling and then slowly growing more sinister as the story progresses into the downward spiral it ultimately becomes. It provides the feeling that the fabric of reality itself is slowly being warped into turmoil by a single character's malignancy, like a black hole warping the gravity that surrounds it. The song's bold structure is a major contributor to its emotional efficacy. Meet the Grams only has verses. There is no intro, no outro, no bridge, and no chorus. The way that each verse builds on the verse that came before it creates a compounding effect to an almost overwhelming degree, an effect that only grows upon multiple re-listens. The verses act as chapters, each one a personal letter to a different member of Drake's family. Narratively, this creates fantastic opportunities not only to approach Drake's failings from multiple perspectives, but also to deliver this information in different tonalities that Kendrick fully capitalizes on. The structure of this song is actually so integral to its success that I feel like I can only analyze it chronologically, so that's what I'm going to do.
Dear Adonis, I'm sorry that man is your father, let me be honest.
Let's break down the first line into two pieces, because rhetorically it's doing two different things. The very first two words act as an ice bath for the audience. This is what we're doing. Absolutely no preamble. Kendrick is, immediately, going as personal as it gets and speaking directly to Drake's son. As you listen to him speak to Adonis in this verse, you can envision Kendrick taking a knee and resting his hand on his shoulder. You can feel a genuine urge to impart to this boy that his father, who is presumably his closest thing to a role model, is the worst kind of man. Along with concerns that Adonis could very well grow up thinking that Drake's behavior is okay if someone else doesn't intervene. So this is Kendrick doing just that. He emphasizes the importance of standing up for yourself, taking pride in who you are and who you love, and even specifying that he recognizes how difficult of a situation Adonis is in, and that he's too young to understand. Adonis is still at the age where, to him, his parents can do no wrong, so Kendrick ends the verse by encouraging him to circle back to this advice once he's older.
And you nothing like him, you'll carry yourself as king. Can't understand me right now, just play this when you 18. Dear Sandra, your son got some habits, I hope you don't undermine them.
We're gonna break down the first line of a verse into two pieces one more time. Firstly, Kendrick's approach establishes a pattern, causing the title to click with the listener. He is going to address Drake's entire family. The second piece of this line demonstrates Kendrick's goal in addressing Drake's mother, which is letting her know exactly who her son has grown up to be. He then addresses Drake's father, and for the first and only time in the song, lays blame regarding Drake's behavior at someone other than Drake.
I'm blaming you for all his gambling addictions, psychopath intuition, the man that liked to play victim. You raised a horrible fucking person, the nerve of you, Dennis. Sandra, sit down, what I'm about to say is heavy, now listen.
Much like how Drake is Adonis's role model, Dennis was Drake's back when he was just Aubrey Graham, and the effects of Dennis as a role model have been catastrophic. Kendrick then turns his attention back to Sandra, letting her know explicitly that her son and the people he associates with are misogynistic predators who not only pose a risk to Sandra's grandson, but are also the type of men who make it terrifying to raise a daughter. And speaking of daughters,
dear baby girl, I'm sorry that your father not active inside your world.
This is where Kendrick's strength as a poet really comes into play in this song, describing the joy in all the precious little mundanities of parental life.
She'll be teaching you timetables or watching Frozen with you, or at your 11th birthday singing poems with you.
These vivid little moments just become ruinously gut-wrenching when juxtaposed to the life that Drake chose instead of experiencing that kind of fleeting joy with this daughter he turned his back on.
Instead, he being Turks paying for sex and popping perks, examples that you don't deserve.
Just as he did to Adonis, Kendrick empathizes deeply with this little girl, imparting counter-narratives to all of the follies that come with the trauma and the abandonment issues a child develops from going unacknowledged by an absentee parent. To help her understand, Kendrick compares Drake's disinterest in his own children to Dennis's initial lack of interest in Drake.
His father probably didn't claim him neither. History do repeats itself, sometimes it don't need a reason.
The simplistic and delicate way in which Kendrick describes generational trauma to this girl is heart-wrenching, basically likening it to a genetic disease that medicine can't cure. Kendrick telling this girl that it isn't her fault, that sometimes bad things just happen seemingly for no reason, makes you feel like he genuinely cares about her more than Drake does. He tells her to forgive him, to be brave, and warns her to never try to seek validation from men as broken as her father, because what her father has given her is nothing compared to real love.
Dear Aubrey, I know you probably thinking I wanted to crash your party.
Standing over the rubble, Kendrick turns his attention to the main character of the song, immediately letting Aubrey know that he did this to himself.
This supposed to be a good exhibition within the game, but you fucked up the moment you called out my family's name.
Something worth mentioning here is how this entire time, even while addressing this man he hates, Kendrick is still approaching all of this with somber empathy. He derives no enjoyment from these observations and recognizes the situation as a tragedy. He's analyzing this family with the same grim tact as a coroner determining a cause of death. This is where I realized on my first listen that Meet the Grahams is not a song comprised of insults. It's a song comprised of explanations. Kendrick does dissect Drake down to his very core, but he's not carnivorously tearing into him. He's performing surgery. This leads to what I believe is the single most devastating line of the song.
And I like to understand, cause your house was never a home. 37, but you showing up as a 7-year-old. You got gambling problems, drinking problems, pill popping and spending problems, bad with money, whorehouse, soliciting women problems. Therapy's a lovely start, but I suggest some ayahuasca, strip the ego from the bottom.
Kendrick is saying that, like a child, Aubrey can't control his emotions without external stimulus. He can't self-regulate, and this has eaten away at his impulse control and caused him to hurt so many people. Statements like these are so much more intense and devastating than any kind of name-calling could ever be. Nothing will ever cut as deep as telling someone that based on their actions, you know that their house was never a home. This leads to the most hellish part of the song.
You lied about religious views. You lied about your surgery. You lied about your accent and your past tense, all is perjury. You lied about your ghostwriters. You lied about your crew members.
For me, it conjures dread similar to when I first read Edgar Allan Poe's Telltale Heart. A man's sanity is being eroded by the bodies he's hidden, and those skeletons have finally burst the hinges off his closet door. I listen to this part and I see a man futilely trudging down a long, narrow path, running from specters of his guilt that supernaturally echo throughout his mind.
You lied about your son. You lied about your daughter, huh? You lied about them other kids that's out there hoping that you come.
All of his crimes, vices, failures, and neglect, as well as the insecurities that manifested them, are bearing down upon and ensnaring this man who has caused all this pain for others. Much like The Shining, Meet the Grahams is conducive to a lot of different interpretations, but whether or not you see these echoing, looming indictments as karma, you get an overwhelming sense of dread. Whatever it is, it's too late. With everything that has happened, in the wake of all those who have gone neglected or abused at the hands of this person, there is a rapidly approaching, inescapable sense of doom, and just like a nightmare, right when you're about to be snatched away forever by what's chasing you, right as you realize you're about to die.
You lied about the only artist that can offer you some help. Fuck a rap battle, this a long life battle with yourself.
It ends.